What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the show. We're going to start off professionally. We're going to address the audience and say, "Okay, we're going to sing. We're going to sing randomly. What's going on?
What's going?
Mind blender.
Marco, I have a question for you, and this is spontaneous. We have not discussed what exactly we're going to talk about before recording, but I have an idea. Marco, we've been listening to horror metal all night. Horror metal, horror punk, whatever. When did horror music, I know horror movies, like you discovered them at an early age, but when exactly did you get bit by the bug that is horror metal / horror punk?
Horror metal music?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a dandelion of a question, right?
Because you and a really cool dude named Chris Artuso, you both like really were totally the guys that were into that when I met you guys in high school. You already had Misfits t-shirts. He had a white zombie jacket, but it's got to start from somewhere. Like, what was the first band? And I'm guessing it was maybe a man named Alice.
I guess you had to jog my memory right there. Yeah, you're right. It was Alice Cooper. Yeah. Be honest with you, I remember renting "Welcome to My Nightmare," his live thing. I think everybody kind of had an idea of Alice Cooper through Wayne's World. Like at that age, you're like, "What's rock and roll music?" And you just see a guy jump out of a giant skeleton on stage, and you're like, "Wow, that's cool." But I think, when was it that I heard? I remember going through my dad's record collection or his tape. He had a tape collection. Like "Welcome to My Nightmare" came on. I'm trying to remember what came first. Was it the tape or the VHS live concert video and stuff? It's like a chicken or an egg situation. So I guess that's pretty much my first experience with like horror rock. And if we're talking about Artuso, who was like my pal back in like high school, he too also liked the Cooper. He was all about the Coop. I'm trying to remember, was he into that at the same time, or did we just introduce it to each other? Going back in those foggy memories is kind of like talking to an old man being like, well, back in my day, everything was worth a penny. And what I really remember from like first incarnation of horror rock was Alice Cooper's live show, but what stuck out the best was this Black Widow. It was the Black Widow, which if nobody's ever heard "Welcome to My Nightmare," well, get the fuck out. No, but like "Welcome to My Nightmare" is probably one of the funnest like concept albums for any person that loves Halloween. You know, it's a good gateway thing.
Sure.
Stuff.
Okay. Yeah. Bring it on, man.
Yeah,
I'm digging.
"Welcome to My Nightmare."
Yeah,
man, that shit's the fucking best thing in the world. Oh, "Welcome to My Nightmare" itself is like a great like little jazzy hard rock number. I think this was him as Alice Cooper, because the band was Alice Cooper, but it was the band, and then like I think they were going through the whole breakup thing and shit, and like they were all like fighting for the rights of the name, so he just changed his name to Alice Cooper. It's like there's nothing you can do about it now. So "Welcome to My Nightmare" was his first outing as Alice Cooper, as his legal name. I could be fucking up this whole history, but whatever, I can't even blame the alcohol. And so "Welcome to My Nightmare" is just like a really unique sounding like, it's probably like the perfect like horror, because it has like, you have the Black Widow, so it starts off with "Devil's Food," which is just basically, I don't even know what the lyrics are all about. It's just like crazy, but like by the end of that song, you have like all of a sudden a cameo by Vincent Price, which is getting a text by Vincent Price, and he's like kind of like playing a tour guide. You have to listen to it, like it's great on your earphones. Vincent Price is playing like a tour guide to a museum, and he's doing like all these poisonous creatures and all that stuff, and he says, my prize, like the arachnids, my favorite. And like in the nice Vincent Price monologue, he starts talking about the different poisonous spiders, and then he brings them into like the Black Widow, to where he almost like goes into like a full like scene chewing monologue on saying like, if I could put my own personal philosophy on, I feel that man has ruled this world long enough, and as his as his kingdom crumbles, the Black Widow will kind of rise up as his ultimate. Anyways, I'm ruining it. I am not Vincent Price and shit. But
Who is?
who is like Vincent Price? So he is like perfect monologue. This is before Thriller, because also Thriller has like the Vincent Price monologue. I think he was just like the guy to go to. Like if you wanted your song scary, you got Vincent Price in there.
Great voice. I mean, seriously, like what a one of a kind like persona actor. And you know, he was used in Scooby Doo, 13 Ghosts of Scooby Doo. But you know, it's interesting. You're saying "Welcome to My Nightmare." A generation backwards, you know, the Muppet Show. Alice Cooper goes on there, plays on the Muppet Show, and like you know, inspires
Vincent Price was also on the Muppet Show.
There
Right?
you go. But inspires a whole wave, millions of people to get into said horror rock. But really, Alice Cooper was one of the inventors of horror rock too. And the first time I ever saw Alice Cooper, dude, was at Wayne's World, and he's playing "Feed My Frankenstein." And
Me too.
I
Like,
was,
that's our gateway to Alice. Funny, Wayne's World. We were watching it recently, and we were all like saying like, "Oh, this is just before the whole grunge thing was about to like take." But like you have two great introductions to like obviously you have like Alice Cooper, but also like Queen's Bohemian Rhapsody. So like as a kid, like that's your introduction to like the two most greatest of like rock icons, right?
and
there,
shows.
And shows, yeah.
Them going to shows. I never went to concerts, so I thought all concerts were going to be like the Gasworks, and hot leads, babe singers were going to kick people in the face if they
Yes.
spilled drinks on them. Yeah.
Don't spill the drinks on the fucking women. So yeah, that was my introduction. Like yeah, Alice Cooper. I think like listening to his album and then like seeing that actually whatever he did in his album, like he's basically my idea. Like is the full package. Like of any good artist is like you bring your concept to your music, but also like you make your whole album an experience. So like Alice Cooper did that with "Welcome to My Nightmare," and then like took that record on like the road with him and stuff. So like the stage shows, which were always crazy, but like the "Welcome to My Nightmare" tour was like very elaborate. There was like dancers dressed up as spiders and stuff, and like. I think he innovated the whole like fucking look of projection screens where he's on stage and he gets like bombarded by a bunch of ghouls and they pull him backwards and like on this like behind him there's like the projection screen and then like he gets pulled into the screen and then like the rest of the like song or halfway through the song like you have him on the screen running away from like all these guys and shit and then he's running back out and then they're running it back out of him. There's like a lot of like technical shit that was going on with that. So I think that blew my mind. I was like fucking probably 8 years old or something.
Wow.
If not younger. So like I'm like, oh, I love horror music.
Since we're still on the
so I didn't really think of that. Like, thanks for saying Alice.
Since we're still on the topic of Alice, I just got to say, the only time I ever saw Alice Cooper live myself was because of you, and you actually you offered me the ticket, and I went to see Alice Cooper with you in a theater. So not even like a big stadium or something like that where it's
His
removed.
best shows were always at theaters. He liked playing those smaller venues because you could the stage didn't have to be built. I think they're already made for that. Or I don't know. He has like a specific or reason why he likes that.
Yeah.
Because I think it adds his shows are more theatrical in terms of like he always has a new way of like killing himself on stage, like via like either beheading himself or electric chair or getting hung.
Yeah.
Which, like I remember, probably that was also another thing. My dad used to tell me a lot about his concerts. He told me about the time when he got hung on stage. So that was fucking always fun to hear, and intrigued me. I think there's something about the kid in you. It's funny because it's all violence and scary stuff, but like kids love horror movies. It's like fucking. He's like the Dracula or Frankenstein of like horror music.
It's a rite of passage because everyone, when I was a kid, they're like, "Oh, this is too scary for you." So as a result, I kind of like buckled in and just endured anything because it was kind of like, no, it isn't. Mm-hmm. And another thing about Alice Cooper, which is funny, we'll tell the folks, is that our buddy Mike Babbins, huge Alice Cooper fan, he said, "Hey, I'm going to go see Alice Cooper at this Harley show." And I was like, you know what, man? I owe Marco a favor. The last time I saw Alice Cooper was because of him, and he gave me a ticket for free. I think you should take Marco. I mean, he's really the bigger fan. And the next day, lo and behold, and you don't post shit. Ever. You never post anything. Mm-hmm. And I remember like going on Facebook the next day and there's a picture of you and Alice Cooper. And now I thought to myself, you know, Ryan, you're a nice guy, but if you knew that you were literally giving up the opportunity to meet Alice Cooper, would you have been so heroically selfless? And the answer is probably, but it would have been a lot more of a hesitation. So tell me about meeting Alice
Well,
Cooper.
I'm wondering, would you, if you knew that you were going to meet him, would you dress up as Wayne and then do the whole "we're not worthy" thing?
Well, now I would. That's a really good idea. Thank you for saying that.
The meetup to Alice was kind of like, I don't know. It was like one of those like you go into one like we're backstage at the Bell Center and all that. Was it Bell Center? Yeah, Bell Center. I forget what it's fucking called. Molson Bell Center. It doesn't matter. We were backstage and like it's basically like this huge ass garage and shit, and like it was like one corridor leading down to it looks like a hotel room, and it's like the fucking heart of the entire stadium and stuff. And I like you know you're like every time you turn one way or another, you kind of like just like you're getting lost. It's basically a giant maze inside like the whole thing. And then I turn and I kind of just see Babbins talking to Alice, but like you know it's kind of like Alice is like behind. It's kind of like in Ed Wood when he sort of sees from far away Orson Welles and shit. I'm like, oh shit. It was kind of surreal, and then like I don't know what it was, but like I was looking somewhere, and then like next thing I know, he's like right there. And he had his legs up. He was sitting down, and he had his legs up, and he was like he had a laptop on his lap and shit. And the only thing in my mind is like, I wonder who was watching. Yeah. I think it was very nonchalant. Like you know, like he shook my hand. It's not like you know you're starstruck. It's just like you don't know what to say to a person sometimes. I sometimes just don't know what to say to a complete stranger. Like, so how'd you like recording this one? You know, or fucking what was your inspiration for Feed My Frankenstein? Like, I didn't have any of that in me and stuff. And before I knew it, like a camera like flicked off. I didn't know that I was supposed to pose. Like I think Babin said, like, "Hey, you want to take a picture?" I'm like, "Okay, sure, that sounds good." I turn around, like, Alice Cooper's already in the pose. He just like done this a million times. He's like he's doing this, and I turn around, and like if you look at the picture, I look fucking completely surprised and shit. And he looks like he's so used to posing that way. It looked like a cutout, so it only looks like me standing next to a
I
cutout.
have a photo of Stanley the same way, where all my other friends who had photos that day, it's the same like literal pose. Like I think Stan was like you know had a rigor mortis. Like
Oh no.
no, just that's what you do. Just like you know, want to give everybody the right face. But yeah, dude, that's insane.
Yeah, not the I'm about to sneeze face.
What did your dad think about you meeting Alice Cooper? Because I know your dad was a big Alice Cooper guy.
I think he was disappointed that I didn't say anything smart. Like, what'd you say to him? He was like, well, I would have said this. I'm like,
I trained you since birth. When you like when
he
you
was
were
the one
5
that
years old,
posted.
and you
He's
were
the one
doing
that
laps
posted
in
the picture. By the way, it wasn't me. It was me. Like, I fucking nailed this one. Yeah. No, he posted it, and he was like, I guess he was proud of me. I was like, I only met a dude, you know. It was cool. Like fucking, it's kind of amazing. It's hilarious because what did you say? Yeah, it was part of like a Harley Davidson slide. I don't know how this thing happened and stuff. It was just like it's a Harley Davidson.
Basically, a bunch of Harleys are on the thing, and Harleys come out, and then girls come out, and then some musical artists, like our guest artists, like Alice. But when I was there, the only show I ever
what'd
saw.
you go for?
Oh, I don't know. Nobody big was there. Like Eric Lapointe, you know, gotta love Eric Lapointe. But he was there.
Yeah, but that shit's big.
He sang one song, and then he left. So I assumed Alice Cooper playing a Harley show. But you saw like a whole show.
He did. Well, he did an hour. But like within that fucking hour, he nailed every song. It was kind of like funny. It was funny just being backstage because like then you leave, but then we're trapped in the garage area. So now we're talking about this is like a Harley Davidson show. So you have like Harley Davidson's like riding up. This is how it was. We were at the center of the assembly line and stuff. I guess like I don't know. It was like in the middle of the garage. I remember this because there was like fucking hedges, some indoor hedges, and there were so many Harley Davidsons that were passing by the end of this whole time. Me and Babbins were stuck in the garage, by the way. We weren't able to come or go and stuff because I don't know, press pass reasons and stuff. I just followed him around. I don't know why it happened.
That's what I do.
But where we were
Served me
standing, we were right where the strippers or the ladies, their changing room was, and it was opening and closing and stuff, and they were just like clumsily running out because they're wearing like 7-inch heels, so clumsily running out as the Harley Davidsons would pass by, and they'd hop on. That's why I'm saying it's like an assembly line, and then they'd ride off, and the girl, and like they're going off, and you like any sort of like Harley Davidson you hear is like super fucking loud,
So
and you're
loud.
inside of like
So
you're inside
loud.
of a fucking garage and shit's like fucking bellowing in your ear. The exhausts were the hedges we were standing beside died by the end of this whole thing. It was like about an hour we were trapped in there and shit, and then we ended up going to the press or whatever, like the seat study was arranged and shit, which was all the way in the nosebleeds. But this is like for like press people and stuff. But like this is such a horrible place to see people. So the show starts and he's I think it was Dead Things. He opens up with Dead Things, and we're both like, this is really rubbish. Like if you're gonna see an Alice Cooper show, you want to see it up close and stuff. So I don't know. By the beginning of the song, like he kind of ascends out of the stage, which was an elaborate stage for just like something you just have an artist come out and do. Like you just think like you plop him in front of it. He just he ascends out of the stage. He has a fucking Medusa of a python over his head like a crown, and he's singing Dead Things and shit. So midway through the song, like we're out of like our press seats. We made our way to the front gate that goes onto the floor and stuff, and like the guy stops us. He's like, "Do you have press passes?" And I don't know what Babin said, but we just walked past him. I think he was just like saying, "Oh yeah, we ended up because it was so fucking loud and it was starting to get chaos and shit." So within 2 minutes, we were from like nosebleeds all the way down to like Alice like fucking sweating snake poo all over us and shit, like snake fucking whatever. We're basically being rained on by Alice's sweat.
Okay.
And yeah. So for the rest of the fucking show, it was just insane. Like all his greatest hits throughout the 70s, and plus your Fried Nights Frankenstein and Poison and what have you. But
I like Poison a lot, actually. I'm actually a big fan.
You like the 80s stuff, right?
I do like the 80s stuff, but I like the 80s stuff of Kiss. I like 70s artists that did good shit in the 80s. You know what I mean? Sometimes like the 80s was the death of them, but when they managed to kind of find their identity in it, it's really charming. It's charming when you're not a fan of the 70s stuff, experiencing it in the 80s, and they must be kind of like disappointed or something by, oh, it's not as good as it used to be. But when you're just some young kid who's like looking at an entire career and you're like, I'll take this, and this, because I didn't wait for these albums.
Well,
They're just here.
for you, Kiss was all Psycho Circus, right?
No, actually, the song Psycho Circus, but the real Kiss that I experienced first was Kiss Exposed, which was this VHS of them in the 80s.
When they didn't have makeup on.
No,
right?
when they didn't have makeup, and they're showing all the new songs and then show a little bit of the old one.
Like what it was in the
But it was so dumb that Jason, our buddy, our best buddy, he and I like made this fake band called Leather Legion and made a fake documentary inspired by Kiss Exposed and all the hijinks in it, and it's great, man. But getting back to the Cooper, it's
gotta remember to coop.
I think it's great that you met him. I think it's awesome. I think you will meet him again. I think the next time we meet him, we'll be in a much more like a conversational atmosphere, because I think you and him have very similar. You're both well-read dudes who love.
I can barely read. I don't know if I'm well-read.
Well, you're both. Well, I think you're well-read.
I have a hard time reading.
I think you're well-read dudes who are really like exemplify like being a heavy metal fan does not mean you're like some meathead dumbass. Like, you love horror movies, you have vision. I think you guys have a lot in common, and given the right circumstances, I think you'd have more to say next time.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Like, it was one of those weird situations, and also, I don't know, I see people are famous, like, don't want to pester them, like...
Oh, I do. Well, not pester them, but,
It's just like, try to imagine you can't even leave your house without like somebody like jumping down your throat asking for an autograph.
Oh, I know. I don't care about autographs. I'm just like
But that's their life.
Yeah.
Like when you hit a certain level of celebrity, it just becomes an annoying thing And I don't want to be part of that. Like, imagine like you walk like and you have a bunch of like fucking mosquitoes hitting you all the time and shit. I don't want to be that one mosquito that lands right on your dick when you're taking a piss in the wilderness.
You know what I don't like? I don't like meeting bands at their shows. I really like meeting bands like through a friend of a friend
Okay.
somewhere else when you're not like where they're in the atmosphere where they have to be on. Like, okay, now's
Yeah.
the point where I got to make sure that everybody I talk to has the best time. Like if I have met Green Day, I've met Trey and Mike, but I would have preferred to have met them in a bowling alley. Just a random
Yeah,
chill,
just them being
not
them, right?
them being them. So who knows? But yeah, man, Alice Cooper still rocking, still alive, still with us,
Yeah, still kicking it.
still kicking.
Still always probably always a go-to for a good live show.
Yeah,
Like from like day one till now, he's never phoned it in.
no.
Like I don't think I don't remember exactly how many times I've seen him. Like let's say ranging around 5 to 6. I'm not sure.
Well, two of them. Well, one was Bell Center, and one of them was at the theater with me, and
I-
then one of them was at Heavy MTL.
So when I saw it
that's
with
three.
you that one time, it's my third time.
Okay,
Bell Center, then he came to Heavy MTL that one time, so 5 times.
5 times.
Yeah.
Wow, so you saw them 2 times before that. Which tours?
The first one was also another, like, I forget where it was somewhere up north, and like it was an outdoor show. He played with Foghat and something. Seeing Foghat was kind of cool, man. Slow ride, fucking great. Then the time after was actually the same theater as I saw it with you. So like it's like it's a reoccurring thing. The thing is, he's never done the same show. He's done like the same songs. He sometimes varies up like the newer songs and with the old ones, but he always incorporates them all good. And there always seems to be like I don't think I've seen any other, well, maybe Pink Floyd, not Pink Floyd, Roger Waters, like do a actual light narrative throughout their set. Like he always has a narrative. I think probably the most coherent narrative that you ever would see in one of his sets is if you watch Brutally Live, which I think is my personal favorite.
Brutal Planet.
Yeah, but the Brutally Live is like the live tour for that era. So I think that's early 2000s, and it's just that it opens with a bunch of his things, but he's also introducing the fact that yes, we're all on a brutal planet. It's like a planet run by cyborgs and all that stuff, and then he goes into like a few of his newer songs. It's how he opens his set. And then we get into a little loose story. So like he gets into a situation where this nurse comes up on stage and like, which is always played by his daughter. I think like she'd always play a female character that's always recurring on stage. She plays a nurse. So she's like rocking a baby carriage and all that stuff. He takes her, throws her into a refrigerator. I think that's what was on set. I'm like,
Charming.
Yeah, I'm really trying to remember this he grabs the baby, and the baby's this two-headed monster and all that stuff, kills it, and which he's singing Dead Babies while he's doing that. After he kills the baby, they grab him, like there's 2 other stagehands, they grab him, put a straitjacket on him, and he goes into the ballad of Dwight Fry, and he breaks out of that, kills the nurse, and then they arrest him, and then put him like into, what the fuck's the name of the song? Was it Killer? I'm not sure. Anyways, I'm like,
Oh, it's a great
going
DVD.
off topic, but
regardless,
he's
it's a great DVD and stuff.
He's just continuing on the story and all that stuff. That's where he gets beheaded, and then they sing like fucking "I Love the Dead," and they're walking around with his head, and they put it on a pike. She takes it, she puts it in this box, and all of a sudden this thing closes up, and he comes back to more Mr. Nice Guy wearing a white suit and a different outfit. And
Clearly, you've seen this DVD before. Like it's
plenty of times.
I've seen it too. It's great.
It's just fun to watch. It's just like fuck. If you didn't like the songs, you could actually follow what's going on and stuff. It's always something entertaining going on. So, and he's done that throughout like whatever all the shows I've seen. It's just like that's the most coherent. But yeah,
badass.
so that was me nerding out on fucking Alice Cooper.
Well, I just would like to note, everybody, that if you've been watching this and you're watching this until this moment, if you really love Alice Cooper and you love Alice Cooper history, may I recommend Super Duper Alice Cooper co-directed by Sam Dunn, who made Mellow Headbanger's Journey, and that's pretty much the history of the Alice Cooper band. You get a lot before Alice Cooper became a solo guy. I mean, you have the origin stories, how Detroit really embraced them, and it's really cool. And if you also want to see, I believe it's called Supermensch, about Alice Cooper's manager that they pretty much never had a contract, they just had a handshake deal, and you see how it's produced by Mike Myers, and you see just the story of how he met Alice Cooper in a hotel where just Janis Joplin and Jimi Hendrix just happened to be fucking hanging out, and Jim Morrison in the same like fucking hotel.
He's just hanging out at the big 27th Street.
It's like the $1 Million Quartet thing with Elvis, Jerry Lee Lewis, and Johnny Cash, and Carl Perkins in the same recording studio, but it's the same thing, but there's no music and it's just weed. Anyway,
what other drugs are?
But I recommend those two documentaries if you're really into Alice Cooper history and you really want to know some extra stuff, especially about the origins of the band, because it's fascinating. Yeah. Anyway, cool. And something about Brutal Planet that I want to bring up right now is that he says, look at this. This guy's wearing an Ozzy Osbourne shirt, and this one's wearing a Marilyn Manson shirt and a Kiss shirt. Oh, my naughty children. And I'm like, that's a good segue, because we got to talk about the rest of our history of horror metal next time.
Blender.